Welcome to the Age Groupies podcast. I'm Mike Ergo, and along with my co-host Lindsay Hyken, we are here to talk about the intersection of endurance sports and mental health. Join us each week as we interview inspiring athletes and coaches, mental health experts, or discuss our own journey with you all. Now, let's get to the show. Hey guys, it's Mike here. I want to talk to you a little bit about UCAN Superstarch, my preferred sports nutrition for triathlon, running, and more. I've been using UCAN for about a year and a half, and what I love about it is that it stabilizes my blood sugar, and I notice this by the fact that I don't have any spikes or crashes. Anyone who's ever raced or trained hard knows that with a lot of the sports nutrition stuff out there, you can get a nice burst of energy, but then it's kind of like a bright flame, burns bright, then goes out quickly, and then you crash, and then you're hungry again, and you got to repeat that cycle, and eventually you get gassy, bloated, you just feel yucky. I don't have any of those problems with UCAN because I can take it an hour to a half hour to even 15 minutes before an event and feel great. And the thing is, it keeps me going. I've used only a few bottles of UCAN to complete 3 70.3 mile triathlons last year, and I never felt hungry. That was the thing. I was a skeptic at first, but I've come to really love UCAN. So if you guys want to check it out and get some of your own, check out our show notes and click the link there, and you guys will save at least 10%, depending on what kind of deals are going on. So check it out. Look in the show notes, click the link, and check out UCAN. All right. Sure. What's up, Lindsay?
Hey. Well, I started the morning with my rescue dog, who's not 100% potty trained, pooping on the floor, but she had all 4 paws on the puppy training pee pad, so couldn't even correct her.
Yeah, you can't even do anything about it. You just, it's like, okay, well, scratch this one up as a loss.
I just stood there and went, oh. And she was like looking at me like, I'm supposed to be here, right? I'm like, yeah, but it'd be great if you could keep your butthole all over the paper too.
Yep, that's a tip for our age groupies. Keep your butthole over the paper. Anyways, I got a dog sitting on my lap who is giving the death stare to my cat. And they're both vying for position on my lap right now, but such is life in my household. Yeah, welcome back, age groupies. It's good to have you all here in the podcast listening again. Mm-hmm. Thank you, as always.
Yeah, it's awesome. We have exciting news we're going to share this week, and that's really what we're going to talk about and why and all of that. But first, let's just check in with Mike and see what's been up.
Well, I've had a decent week overall. It got a little interesting last week. And so I ordered things on Amazon, like most people do, right?
Same.
And so I wear what's called shirt stays. And anyone who's been in the Marine Corps or probably the military is familiar with these devices. They are little clips that attach to the bottom of a dress shirt that help them look like they're tucked in the whole time. They hold them down. And so they don't come untucked or get all rumpled. Well, the particular kind I got from Amazon have a little, what would you say, like this strap that goes around the thigh and they attach to the shirt. And so Sarah, my wife, looks at this and she's like, are you buying like women's underwear now? And that was her first assumption.
Garter.
Yeah, she's like, wow, this took a weird turn. And so I said, glad you that was your first assumption about me, but we'll move on from that. But I have to say, my shirts look great, and I think it was worth the cost of that awkward conversation.
I mean, if that is your thing, fine by me. But I think it would be shocking as a wife of many years. You guys have been together a long time to be like, oh, this is... Hi.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was going to tell you about that one weird thing I ordered from Amazon. Slipped my mind that's what I do now.
Garters. It's funny that she said that because when you started describing it, I was like, this sounds like women's underwear to me. Like this sounds like a garter situation. That's what I was thinking before you even said Sarah said that.
Exactly. So her thought was not unfounded. I guess we can put it that way. But I think...
so now you can empathize a little bit with what it's like to be woman and have all these extra apparatus underneath your clothing.
You know, I could empathize a lot, I think, after I had a kidney stone, because that was no fun. And I've heard that's the closest a male can come to empathizing a women's like childbearing experience. So I won't say I get it, but I can say I have some extra empathy now.
Right. That's awesome. Hey, you know, and this has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with our podcast, any of the topics we've ever covered or anything, but it's funny. I saw on like, I don't know, PBS, you know, like Nova or one of those shows where there were some researchers and they were actually they were researching about pain, like physical pain and, you know, differences between the genders and things like that. And they had developed some sort of electronic device that would basically cause the male like abdomen to constrict and have contractions in the way that women do when you're giving birth.
Sounds like a great device. Where can I buy one?
They hooked up these like electrodes to these guys like abdomens and like their lower back, right? Because it's super painful in your lower back too. And they had the little like they could turn up the volume, so to speak, to sort of mimic, you know, the different contraction levels as you get through labor. And the wives of these men were in the room with them, and they'd all had kids. And so when they did, because I think they had tested it on women at some point to like say like, is this a similar, you know, does this simulate whatever? And so anyway, these men, before they even got anywhere near what it is right before you actually like are giving actual birth, they were curled up. I mean, they were moaning. They were in the fetal position.
Yeah.
They were grabbing for their wives. They were just like, ah! And they were like, yeah, this is probably like couple hours before your average, woman is about to give birth.
That's why I think that the playing field levels out on these long endurance runs. We're talking about the ultras, because the pain tolerance that women have is on average much more than the males.
Yeah, for that sort of like that long, maybe not intense. Well, pregnancy is intense, but for a lot of women, like I know for myself, my labor was like almost 17 hours with Jillian and like 27 and a half with Hilton. So for that whole time I had regular contractions.
Wow.
And so that ability to just sort of like sustain this sort of like pain for a long period of time, I think we're built for that. I mean, that's what we have to do. So, I feel like running an ultra probably has similar tones. And also like I notice it cycles. Like when we did our ride from Palo Alto to Santa Barbara in a 3-day period. So it was a 330-mile ride, and we did a route that was 22,000 feet of climbing. So it was like not the most direct, flattest route, but it was like the prettiest route, which was nice. But through that, I would be like, after a while, you're in pain. Oh, my butt hurts, my back hurts, my legs hurt, and then it would kind of like go away. You know what I mean? Huh. And you'd feel better. And then be like, oh, I actually feel pretty good. And then it'd come again. And then you're like, I'm not going to make it to 110 miles today. And then it's suddenly at like mile 95, it's like, yeah, I think I probably will. It'll be fine, And
yeah, wow.
I think that's probably the experience. I don't know. I've not done an ultra run yet. Have you done one?
Nope, have not. Nope. The longest I've gone was like running over to the massage table after an Ironman to be like, fix me. That's so it's 26.3 maybe.
Oh, massage tables were all closed down when I finished my
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I want to circle back because we had this episode a few weeks ago where you talked about eating stuff.
Yep. Little eating disorder action.
Little eating disorder action. And it really, we had good response from the listeners on that.
Yeah.
In this, not, yay, Mike has an eating disorder, but, but like, just the people, I think, really appreciate your openness with that. You know, it's a hard topic, as are a lot of these, pretty much all, you know, mental illness, mental health issues. You know, we've got, there's so much stigma around each one, and misunderstanding and shame and secrecy and, you know, all that stuff. And that led us to reflect on our podcast and, you know, what our why is for the podcast, I think.
Yeah, our unique contribution to this podcasting world, our little cross section between endurance sports, or just, let's just say, sport and mental health.
Yeah. You know, we enjoy talking to all these athletes and triathletes, and I think that, you know, is something that we will continue to do on a certain level, but we really want to focus our show on what we know best, which is having mental illness and using physical activity as one of the tools for maintaining good mental health and growing and, you know, and living the best life we can live, given the fact that, you know, these mental illnesses aren't really, you know, curable. They're just, you know, they can go into remission if you're doing this stuff. Yeah.
It's, you know, I like the term mental hygiene, you know, because it implies stuff you do on a regular, consistent basis to keep your mental health up. Just like you can't just brush your teeth once and call it, I'm done, I brushed my teeth. Nah, you got to do that shit daily.
As an alcoholic who's sober, I've bumped into many other people trying to get sober who did try to deploy the one and done with the teeth brushing.
Oh,
it didn't go so well. Especially not when you're doing meth. Those things just fall right out of your face.
Fall right out. Yeah, that's a tough look.
It is. So that is all to say that we are going to change the branding of our podcast a little bit. We're not really going to change the format. We're going to talk to each other and talk to other people, which is what we've been doing. But the rebranding is going to be more focused on this this cross section of mental health and sports, endurance sports, most likely, but also other physical activity, yoga, and then also a little bit of meditation, which we did last year, all year anyway. So, so you're gonna be seeing. This is our second to, basically what we're telling you guys is that this is our second to last Age Groupies episode.
But don't worry, we'll still be here.
But don't worry. Yeah. We're still going to be in your feed every week.
Yep.
But we're going to change the name because we want to reach people who may be struggling with mental health and could benefit from, you know, listening to people who are pretty open about their stuff, just so that they have, like, I think when we were talking with Corey, he was saying just being able to, like, know, oh, there's somebody else out there who has stuff is valuable. And we want to, you know, I think for us, it's important to have a why that's meaningful. And we both like to help people. And so just talking about endurance sports in and of itself, there's a million podcasts that are doing that. And I don't know that it's that helpful, you know, to do that, but I think it is helpful and valuable to sort of share our experience and talk with professionals in the, you know, mental health space and other people who have issues and talk to them about how they've dealt with it.
Yeah, that's our niche, mental health and sport. So we got a new name, everyone. You want to tell them what it is?
We got a new name. Well, you thought of it.
I did. But I'll let you go with it, Lindsay.
Okay, so we didn't want to do age groupies anymore because that name, as you know, is very specific to endurance sports. And people who might just be like just getting sober or just starting their antidepressant meds and want to like get active and they may not ever come to our podcast because they wouldn't know what it's about. And so we're going to name it something that has nothing to do with anything, but it's going to be probably more clear because we have a tagline.
Yeah, it has to do with us.
It has to do with us. And so it's going to be called Ginger and Chocolate.
Woo, woo. Yes.
Woo, which sounds super yummy to me. A little ginger dipped in chocolate. Well, that's wrong because we're not together that way. Scratch that.
Yeah,
but
ginger and chocolate
those two
together
flavors
is good.
Together sound good. Yeah,
I have had a ginger chocolate bar, and it is fantastico.
Chef's kiss. When I owned that restaurant in Palo Alto, we sold a bunch of different Christmas stuff. Like Christmas foods, candies, and cakes and cookies and stuff during the holiday time. And one thing we sold was from Scotland, and it was a butter cookie with ginger in it dipped in dark chocolate.
Oh, deadly.
And I was popping those in my mouth one day while I was working on the payroll and stuff for the restaurant. I was just like, because they're not very big,
Yeah.
So I was like, pop. And then I looked at the back of the package and it was like one serving, 180 calories. And it was like 2 cookies.
Exactly.
So I was like,
300 calories for 2 cookies.
Okay, so just to recap, folks, we're going to be called Ginger and Chocolate. So you're going to start seeing that showing up in your feed with a new cover art. And you're going to be like, what is that? Except that you're also going to be like, that also kind of looks like Lindsay and Mike. So you probably won't be too confused, hopefully. And then the tagline is going to be something like real talk about mental and physical health. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to focus on. And so, you can still email us at the Age Groupies email right now or hit us up on social media, or message us privately if you want. But if there's particular mental health topics you want us to discuss, it doesn't have to be the stuff that we have. It doesn't have to be food, alcoholism, depression. It could be anything. We're happy to, look into it and find experts to talk about it and have them come on the show. So, hit us up with those questions. And then for those of you who don't feel like you have mental health issues and you just really like the athletic side of it, we are still going to talk about sports, especially endurance sports. And let's be real. If you think that you don't have any issues, not that you have like a diagnosable mental health issue, but you can still learn from the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you don't think that you have any issues at all, you probably have narcissist disorder. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, also, I think it'll give you an increased understanding for your fellow athletes because a lot of us are there in the sport to try to, work on our mental health and have good mental hygiene there. And so you'll understand some of the habits and some of the patterns of a lot of the people you train and race with. And you might not be aware of how many people are out there dealing with a mental health condition. And I saw this awesome post, and it showed a face of Robin Williams, and it said, people don't fake depression. People fake being okay. And depression's a real thing, just like all these other mental health conditions are a real thing. And they're hard to understand because a lot of times we can't see them. They're just, we're talking about intangible things that we can see through people's behaviors. But
yeah,
it's hard to really put your mind around it unless you've had it or you can listen to someone who has dealt with it.
I mean, and as humans, if you look at the history of our behavior, we were burning people at the stake and stuff that we thought had it, or drowning them. And we thought, oh, that's a witch or it could have it probably was just like either nothing, or maybe, somebody who had a mental illness. Like the way that we have dealt with this over the history has been from, the whole spectrum, from violence to just denial, to putting people in sanitariums and ignoring them, to, and really the emphasis has always been on that person is somehow defective, bad, has, has a moral failing, is evil, is, demon possessed, is, so yes, at this point in time, we are definitely more as a society knowledgeable and more open. However, we're just at the beginning of coming out of the view that it's a moral failing to be an alcoholic. That if you are bipolar, schizoaffective or something, or if you hear voices, that you're just insane and should be locked up. Like that you're just someone to avoid. And, no real compassion. And I feel like we're sort of coming to an understanding like that's not right, but we haven't really reached the level of like compassion. And I think that the compassion will come from a deeper knowledge of like what's actually going on with that person. Not, why won't they just stop doing drugs?
Why can't they just act right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Why can't, it's like, you think this person wants to live like this? Does it look like they're having fun?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Take a look at the streets of San Francisco and you can see a lot of people not having fun, not really liking it. And I think to your point, Lindsay, the knowledge is key, and the knowledge can come from discussions like this that we're having, that we'll continue to have, that we'll have with people who struggle with other kinds of mental health issues that we might not be familiar with, and we'll learn a lot from that.
Yeah, I'm excited about this actually. And all the way through, we're going to weave in, of course, our sort of, I wouldn't say theory, but our way of having good mental hygiene is to get the body moving, because there is a real connection between what's happening in your mind and your body. And I don't think that just doing triathlon or just going for a long run is going to solve all of the mental illness that a person might have. But I do think it's a really valuable tool that is an important component of, once you've addressed maybe, if you're in a really dire situation and you need hospitalization, or you need, whatever, rehab, or then that's that, and you need to go do that. But there is a whole maintenance thing that happens after you've kind of gone through maybe the crisis mode of where the diagnosis generally, a lot of times the diagnosis for various types of mental illnesses comes from some sort of crisis or hitting bottom, quote unquote, or whatever you want to call it. It's not like everyone's going along like, la, la, things are great, and they get diagnosed with a mental illness. That's not how that works.
Comes as a result of an incident or many small incidences that lead up. So
right.
You're exactly right, because so many people, and I think this will be important for our listeners who don't have any kind of diagnosable condition, is that so many people will, I won't say fake it, but they'll manage as best they can until they can't. And they might look quote unquote normal on the outside. But I think there's so many more people dealing with these conditions than we realize, because of how stigmatized of it, and because of how hidden it's been from the public and from each other. So we're here to set those things free.
Yeah, we're here actually. And from my perspective, we're here to remove the stigma and all of that. That just gives this mental illness power. If you have shame around it, it gives it more power. For me, just being open about what I got going on has taken a lot of the power out of it. And then it gives me the space and the freedom to just deal with the reality of the situation. Like, what do I actually need to do on a daily basis to maintain a healthy, sober lifestyle, mind, be contributing member of society, manage the depression. Like, what real things do I need to do? Like worrying about the shame and trying to hide it and spending energy on that takes away from my ability to actually just address the thing.
Exactly.
And it's so freeing, and it brings it to a right sizeness. Like, if you can take this, so we're just going to kick mental health in the butt or mental illness, I should say, in the butt by just taking some of the power out of it and being like, it is what it is. We're all different. We all have stuff, and it's fine.
And we all have unique things to contribute. And I think that there's a flip side to what we call a deficit, or we think of as deficits and mental illness. I mean, if you take anxiety, for example, people who deal with higher levels of anxiety, like past guest Adam Hill, talked about how he makes that his superpower, because now he's able to notice a lot more things going on. So it's about harnessing the energy that you're given in a more effective way. And you imagine shooting a fire hose that's spraying all over the place. It is not very effective for putting out a fire. But when you have it concentrated in an area, then that is effective. Or from all my vets out there, if you're shooting from the hip, you're not gonna hit your target. But if you get a nice tight shoulder position, you'll get a tight group and hit your target every time. So that's what we're trying to do with this energy, and figure out, what unique thing do you have and how it can be used as a superpower. And I'll totally credit Adam Hill for that idea.
That's awesome. I love that idea. And I'm a firm believer in, in our past experiences, just in that concept of harnessing them to have a better life. Like, I really am grateful to be a sober alcoholic. There was a time in my sobriety where I would have preferred to have never been an alcoholic.
Yeah. I hear
you. But actually at this point, I can say that one of the reasons I'm able to enjoy my life so fully and kind of like go for it in different areas of my life and just really live is because I already know what it's like to be in hell on earth.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I'm super grateful for what I have today. I don't take it for granted, because it's like, I remember, you know what I mean? I was like not seeing my kids, and I was with someone who was beating me up, and I couldn't go home, and I was drinking myself into oblivion, and I ended up in a shelter for abused women. And I mean, so today, the worst thing that's happened to me today, and probably the worst thing that'll happen to me all day, is that my adorable rescue dog pooped on the floor. Like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's all good. Life is so freaking good. And I have that perspective because of my having struggled with mental illness. So.
Yeah. And there's so many parallels to sport, which is why we love talking about them. For instance, think about the best cup of water you've ever drank. It's probably after a hard run or a hard workout. You appreciate it that much more. So we'll have a lot to talk about, and this is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of the same things that you love from the show, and a new little twist that I think everybody will enjoy. So it's not that we don't like it's not that we think Age Groupies was a bad name. It served its purpose. Lindsay started this, and then we came together and built on what Lindsay started, and its time has come. And we're going to change the name to Ginger and Chocolate.
That's right. And we're going to have some cute ass cover art.
Yes.
It's going to have basically a...
Cute AF.
Cute AF. That's the plan anyway. So a friend of mine is working on that right now. And we're just really excited to be able to actually focus in on... a way that we can contribute to our community and society and have a more meaningful sort of conversation. There's other podcasts you guys can listen to if you just want to listen to, about Iron Man or something. And I listen to those. So
yeah,
I think that's good. But one of the things I think is interesting is that going back to the listeners who don't identify with having a diagnosed mental illness, is that I get comments from, listeners and friends who will listen to an episode of ours where we do talk about mental illness and who don't have anything diagnosable, who just say they enjoy it because they learn a little bit of something about their own behaviors. It may not be to the extreme level of like,
yes,
what we're discussing.
Someone will have traits, but not a full-blown diagnosis.
Exactly. And they'll say like, oh, I'm always, down on myself for doing X, Y, Z. And then I hear you guys talk about this and it's like, oh, okay. I guess it's not like, I don't have to carry shame about it. It's just like, okay, this is who I am. And these are the things I can do to sort of address that, especially around, for women, I've had it around the body image stuff that I've shared and that kind of stuff. I think like low key, I don't know a single woman who doesn't have some body image. It's like built into our society. I mean, that's just,
it really is.
I mean, if you don't have a body image issue and you're an American female, I mean, kudos.
Yeah.
I don't know how you manage to do that, but
safe to say you're less than 50% of the female population, significantly less.
Yeah. Just because it's there, it's in our media, it's in the language that we, it's in our language, it's in our culture, it's in videos, it's in advertising, it's in, I mean, this is what, okay, let me just complain on this topic of body image.
Let's do it.
Let me just complain about something right effing now. So I'm on Instagram, Age Groupies / Ginger and Chocolate is on Instagram. I like Instagram. I like looking at the pictures, and et cetera, et cetera. But my feed, because I've followed so many running, whatever hashtags and look at different running pictures, I'm now getting these images that are hashtag morning run or whatever, and they are not runners. They are women with their ass out. And I'm not a prude. Yeah. I don't care. Have your ass out. I don't give a shit. But let's not pretend you're... So the other day, I said this to Heidi Buttery, friend of the show, and another friend of mine. And I was like, what the fuck? Because it was a woman who was... Okay, she had on thick wool socks, a beanie, and like a little like run jacket or whatever, and no pants on at all or underwear. And she was laying down in this puffy snow with like one of her legs up and looking back at the camera. So just her bare butt was up. And it was all 6 a.m. run.
Right.
Bitch, you don't even have shoes on. You're not running.
Yeah. No, that's why I had to unfollow the hashtag triathlon, because it just turned into like softcore porn and just Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue had nothing to do with the sport a lot of the time. So, and that's what gets the most likes. And,
exactly.
So I hear you. I'm with you on this one, Lindsay.
I mean, I just was like, I want to see I follow Solomon running. Like, I want to see actual trail runners like out there doing their thing. I don't want to see some 20-year-old's booty.
Yeah.
And why you got socks on in the snow? That's stupid.
That's stupid. That's just a stupid concept.
It is. That image was not made for women, or at least not straight women, because I don't get it. I don't know why you'd have just no pants on out in the snow, and it's ridiculous. So anyway, that kind of thing is not good for any of us necessarily for our body image. So, I feel like that kind of thing is why I've heard from other women, when we've talked about stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. These are real people with real struggles going on. And, I think we both want a space where people who are worried that they're quote unquote not normal can be part of this and not have to worry about carrying around shame of not, looking like these Instagram models, because that's not real life. For the most part, that is not real life. So here we are. Sorry,
I'm moving around a little because my phone is about to die and I'm not sure why.
That's all right.
So,
I think we
listeners,
just
if you
about
hear
covered
me
it.
like, yeah, okay, good. I was like, shoot. Okay. So we're super excited about the new concept for the show, and to share this, journey with you guys. And, I hope you'll stay with us while we're making this transition. So we'll have one more Age Groupies next week. And then after that, you should see Ginger and Chocolate in your feed. Please subscribe. And if you know anyone who may want to hear a show about mental health, and who might not be super athletic, please share the show with them, because they can get something out of it too, even if they aren't, really into endurance sports.
Yeah, and to clarify one thing, if you're subscribed to Age Groupies, you don't have to subscribe to anything else. It'll just become Ginger and Chocolate. So all you have to do is just sit back and let your episodes download. Exactly.
All you have to do is not unsubscribe when you see it, because you don't know what the F it is.
Yeah. Yeah, just like, oh, I think I recognize those two people. Let's stay with it.
All right. That's our show for this week. Everyone get out there, move your butts, and the rest of you. And we'll see you next week.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Alrighty, that concludes today's episode of the Age Groupies podcast with me, Lindsay Hyken, and my co-host, Mike Ergo. We really hope you enjoyed it. You can follow the show on Instagram at Age Groupies, join our Age Groupies page on Facebook, and look us up by name, Lindsay Hyken and Mike Ergo on Strava. If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas, feel free to email us at agegroupies@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, as this really helps us get more exposure while we try to grow this little venture. And of course, if you have friends you think might like the show, please be sure to share it with them. But for now, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.